Well. Hello, the void. Hello, man. The void. I mean, the void means like, nothing, nothing, nobody. But we have our first subscriber. I mean, like, truly first subscriber. I am grateful for it. Ah, yeah. Do. चलो रीडिंग स्टार्ट करते हैं शायद यहाँ पर ही पहले मतलब छोड़ा था हमने तो अब देखते हैं वैसे तो आज मेरा मन नहीं कर रहा था लेकिन हम बिना मन करे भी चीज़ें करते हैं आर्टिकल 215 250 30 नहीं 250 power of parliament to legislate with respect to any matter in the state list if a proclamation of emergency in operation. Okay, so basically we have an important article when the center will basically the when the center will maybe feel threatened or maybe there is a just legit threat. uh the parliament can literally override state powers. So that is a interesting thing, man. Interesting thing. Notwithstanding anything in this chapter, Parliament shall, while proclamation of emergency is in operation, have power to make laws for the whole or any part of the territory of India with respect to goods and services tax provided under Article 246A or any of matters enumerated in the state list. Second one, a law made by Parliament, which Parliament would not, but for the issue of proclamation of emergency, have been competent to make shall to the extent of the incompetency cease to have effect on the expiration of period of 6 months after the proclamation has ceased to operate, except as respect things done or omitted to be done before the expiration of the said period. Oh man, like this language is little bit of difficult. Oh, a law made by Parliament, which Parliament would not, but for the issue of proclamation of emergency, have been competent to make shall to the extent of the incompetency cease to have effect on the expiration. Oh, basically the law made by Parliament in when there was emergency will cease to have effect on the expiration of period of 6 months after the proclamation has ceased to operate, except as respect things done or omitted to be done before the expiration of the said period. Okay. So basically, when the emergency will end, the laws made by it in that moment also will be cease to have effect. Article 251, inconsistency between laws made by parliament under articles 249 and 250 and laws made by the legislature of state. Nothing in this article 249 and 250 shall restrict the power of the legislature of state to make any law under this constitution. It has power to make, but if any provision of a law made by the legislature of a state is repugnant to any provision of law made by parliament, which parliament has under either of the said article power to make, the law made by parliament, whether passed before or after the law made by the legislature of state, shall prevail, and the law made by the legislature of state shall to stay. Oh, I had a call. Sorry, man. I was distracted. Nothing in this article 249 and 250 shall restrict the power of the legislature of state to make any law which under this constitution it has power to make. But if any provision of law made by the legislature of state is repugnant, but I have to mean what the fuck repugnant means. Repugnant. Ah, okay. Opposite or incomplete is conflict to any provision of law made by parliament which parliament has under either of the said articles power to make. The law made by parliament, whether passed before or after the law made by the legislature of state, shall prevail, and the law made by the legislature of the state shall, to the extent of repugnancy, but so long only as the law made by parliament continues to have effect, be inoperative. Man, like this is a extremely typical English language. Basically, parliament has primacy over the legislature of state, I guess. Article 252. Power of parliament to legislate for two or more states by consent and adoption of such legislation by any other state. Power of parliament to legislate or two or more state by consent and adoption of such legislation by any other state. If it appears to the legislature of two or more states to be desirable that any of the matters with respect to which parliament has no power to make laws for the state except as provided in articles 249. Oh, hmm, पानी पी लेता हूँ भाई. हाँ काय म्हणली power of parliament to legislate for two or more state by consent and adoption of such legislation by any other state. If one clause one, if it may appears of oh, if it appears to the legislature of two or more states to be desirable that any of the matters with respect to which parliament has no power to make laws for the state except as provided in articles 249 and 250 should be regulated in such states by parliament by law, and if resolution to that effect are passed by all the houses of the legislature of those states, it shall be lawful for parliament to pass an act for regulating that matter accordingly, and any act so passed shall apply to such states and to any other state by which it is adopted. Afterwards, by resolution passed in that behalf by the House, or where there are two houses, by each houses of the legislature of the state. Okay, like this is useless. Like most states not gonna, like if the parliament has direct, they are never gonna pass this kind of judgment unless the ruling party and the state ruling party and the center ruling party are the same and they have absolute majority. Then I think this kind of laws can be passed. Any clause to any act so passed by parliament may be amended or repealed by an act of parliament passed or adopted in like manner, but shall not, as respect any state to which it applies, be amended or repealed by an act of the legislature of the state. Okay, so basically the state cannot, you know, change the parliamentary act, I guess, in their own legislature of the state. Okay. Legis fuck. Article 253. Legislation for giving effect to international agreements. Notwithstanding anything in the foregoing provision of this chapter, Parliament has power to make any law for the whole or any part of the territory of India for implementing any treaty, agreement, or convention with any other country or countries, or any decision to be made in any international conference, association, or other body. Okay, अरे man. Okay, this is better. Inconsistency between laws made by parliament and laws made by the legislature of state. Hmm. Clause 1. If any provision of law made by the legislature of state is repugnant, like, fuck English, man. Like, what? Why the fuck I am unable to pronounce this kind of repugnant or fuck it. Why the fuck? Why? Oh god. Now it will come. No, the software is not picking up. Yeah. Repugnant? Repugnant. Pugnant. Okay, repugnant. State is repugnant to any provision of state is conflict to any provision of law made by the parliament, which parliament is competent to enact, or to any provision of existing law with respect to one of the matters enumerated in the concurrent list, then the subject to provision of clause 2, the law made by parliament, whether passed before or after the law made by the legislature of such state, or as the case may be, the existing law shall prevail, and the law made by the legislature of state to extent of the repugnancy be avoided. Repugnancy, repugnancy, repugnant, 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 re. Clause 2. This is, like the law made by the parliament will override the law of the state in the concurrent list, not state list. So it will only apply for the concurrent list. Okay. Clause 2. Where a law made by the legislature of state with respect to one of the matters enumerated in the concurrent list contains any provision repugnant to the provisions of an earlier law made by parliament or an existing law with respect to that matter. The law made by the legislature of state shall, if it has been reserved for the consideration of the president has received his assent, prevail in that state. Okay, good for them then. But still, this is dependent on the center, and the state has literally no power to challenge it, provided that nothing in this clause shall prevent Parliament from enacting at any time any law with respect to the same matter, including a law adding, amending, varying, or repealing the laws so made by the legislature of the state. Okay. This is extremely. How can I say this? Center. This is extremely center-heavy constitution. Like the states have very low power compared to the center, I guess. The Indian states really have very low power. It is appearing to me here, at least. So yeah. Article 255 requirements as to recommendation and previous sanction to be regarded as a matter of procedure only. No act of parliament or of the legislature of state, and no provision in any such act shall be invalid by reason only that some recommendation or previous sanction required by this constitution was never not given. If assent to that act was given, where the recommendation required was that of the governor, either by governor or by the president. Clause B, where the recommendation required was that of Raj Pramukh, either by the Raj Pramukh or by the president. C, where the recommendation or previous sanction required was that of president, by the president. ये क्या है भाई? I'm not gonna try to understand. Like, what the fuck is this? No act of parliament or of the legislature of state, and no provision in any such act shall be invalid by reason only that some recommendation or previous sanction by this constitution was not given. If assent to that act was given. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. Okay. Okay, understood, man. Like, basically, if the president had given some recommendation but also assent, then the law will not be, invalid. So I think something like that. Article 256, obligation of state and the union. The executive power of every state shall be exercised as to ensure compliance with the laws made by the parliament and any existing laws which apply in that state, and the executive power of union shall extend to the giving of such direction to a state as may appear to the government of India to be necessary for that purpose. Okay, I think the Indian constitution is extremely center heavy. And American constitution is like more state heavy. Like there are only few amendments and uh, what articles there, and after everything is decided by the state, given state, and it requires absolute majority to change, two-third majority to change the American constitution. In India, you can change the constitution without two-third majority. Obviously, you cannot change everything, but you can change many things. Oh man. Article 257. Control of the union over state in certain cases. Clause 1. I mean, like, so far you are literally have given the states one-sided, the union one-sided power. Like, how you are even giving it even more? Like, you should have written an article which is reverse, like control of states over their own fucking matters, which is required. Clause 1, the executive power of every state shall be executed as not to impede or prejudice the exercise of executive power of the union, and the executive power of union shall extend to the giving of such direction to a state as may appear to the government of India to be necessary for that purpose. Okay. Clause 2, that the executive power of the union shall also extend to the giving of a direction to state as the construction and maintenance of means of communication declare in the direction to be national or military importance. Okay. Provided that nothing in this clause shall be taken as restricting the power of parliament to declare highways or waterways to be national highways or national waterways, or the power of the union with respect to the highways or waterways so declare, or the power of the union to construct and maintain means of communication as part of its function with respect to naval, military, and air force work. Ugh. Oh man, this is extremely one-sided. Yeah, Clause 3, the executive power of union shall also extend to the giving of direction to a state as the measures to be taken for the protection of the railway within the state. Okay, clause 4, wherein carrying out any direction given to a state under clause 2 as to construction or maintenance of any means of communication, or under clause 3 as to measures to be taken for the protection of any railway, costs have been incurred in excess of those which would have been incurred in the discharge of the normal duties of the state. If such direction had not been given, there shall be paid by the government of India to the state, and such a sum as may be agreed or in default of agreement as may be determined by the an arbitrator appointed by the Chief Justice of India in respect to the of the extra cost so incurred by the state. Oh, finally some power to the states after one-sided crusade. Okay, this constitution is extremely biased against the states, man. Like, literally, I think India should have been a little bit, state centered instead of center centered or union centered. So yeah, this is extremely state heavy constitution. Wait a fucking minute. I have to store this. Right is somewhere I am developing a constitutional project. So there I am gonna write this. State versus union powers problem. Heavy favored. Heavily favored to union. Oh God. Okay. State versus union. Okay. Article 257A, assistance to state by deployment of armed forces or other forces of union omitted by the constitution. 44th Amendment Act 1978. Okay, like imagine a war between Rajasthan and Pakistan instead of India versus Pakistan war. Lol. That will be funny. Article 258. Power of Union to confer powers, etc. on states in certain cases. Confer powers, etc. on states. How much center heavy it is, man? Like, oh, discuss, to compare, to collect, gather, to contribute. State answer. Clause 1. Not stating anything in this constitution. The parliament may, with the consent of the government of state, instruct either conditionally or unconditionally to that government or its officers function in relation to any matters to which executive power of the union extends. Like, how the fuck you are taking someone's consent and later conditional or unconditionally to that government or to its officers function in relation to any matter? Okay, like this is a contradiction by contradiction. No, like this is a contradiction. Power of the union to confer powers on certain cases, notwithstanding anything in this constitution, the president may, with the consent of the government of state, entrust either conditionally or unconditionally to that government or its officers function in relation to any matter to which the executive clause to a law made by parliament which applies in any state may, notwithstanding it relates to matter with respect to which the legislature of the state has no power to make laws, confer powers and impose duties, or authorize the conferring of powers and the imposition of duties upon the state or officer and otherwise authorities thereof. Okay, I didn't understand this law at all. This clause 3, whereby virtue of this article, powers and duties have been conferred or imposed upon a state or officers or authorities thereof, there shall be paid by the government of India to the such sum as may be agreed, or in default of agreement as may be determined by an arbitrator arbitrator appointed by the Chief Justice of India in respect of any extra cost of administration incurred by the state in connection with the exercise of those power and duties. Confer means, in consultation with the state, I guess, when both parties are discussing the thing and with their agreement or with, how can we say, discussion with that. Okay, this is still, extremely state union heavy constitution still. Article 258A, power of states to entrust function to the Union. Notwithstanding anything in this constitution, the governor of a state may, with the consent of the government of India, entrust either conditionally or unconditionally to that government or its officer function in relation to any matter to which the executive power of the state exempt. Article 259, Armed Forces in state in Part B of the first schedule, omitted by this Constitution 7th and... Okay, I don't understand. Uh, Clause 260, jurisdiction of the Union in relation to territories outside India. Okay, the government of India may, by agreement with the government of any territory not being part of the India, uh, I am fucking cooked. The government of India may, by agreement with the government of any territory not being part of the territory of India. Okay. Obviously, it is not gonna be part of India, man. Like, are you fucking stupid? Undertake any executive, legislative, or judicial function vested in the government of such territory, but every such agreement shall be subject to and governed by and any law relating to the exercise of foreign jurisdiction for the time being in force. What the fuck is this law, man? Why the fuck any other government, will want you to, take power in their legislative, judicial, and executive function? Like, are you fucking stupid? Like, why the fuck anyone will I agree with that? Like, whatever, man. Like, I don't wanna have a discussion on this. Article 261. I wanna have a discussion on this actually now. Now I'm gonna have a discussion on this. Article 261. Public acts, records, and judicial proceedings. Clause 1. Full faith and credit shall be given throughout the territory of India to public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of the Union and of every state. Clause 2. The manner in which and the condition under which the acts, records, and proceedings referred to in clause 1 shall be proved, and the effect thereof determined shall be as provided by law made by Parliament. 3. Final judgments or orders delivered or passed by civil courts in any part of the territory of India shall be capable of execution anywhere within that territory according to law. Civil courts, like what is a civil court? Are there different types of courts? Okay, there are civil courts. Okay, that means when there are two parties, suit in law, there is a lawsuit against each other, then it is a civil court, I guess. Article 262 adjudication of disputes relating to waters of interstate rivers or river valleys. Adjudication. Okay. 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 Clause 1. Parliament may by law provide for the adjudication of any dispute or complaint with respect to the use, distribution, or control of the waters or in any interstate river or river valley. Clause 2. Notwithstanding anything in this constitution, Parliament may by law provide that neither the Supreme Court nor any other court shall exercise jurisdiction in respect of any such dispute or complaint as is referred to in clause 1. Okay. Like this is extremely, center heavy, union heavy constitution, man. Ultimately, union has all the powers. The states are just, for the state list of functions. And even that can be overridden. Coordination between state. 200 and clause 263 provision with respect to an interstate council. If at any time it appears to the president that the public interest would be served by the establishment of a council charged with the duty of clause A inquiring into and advising upon disputes which may have arisen between states. Okay. B. Investigating and discussing subjects in which some or all of the state or the union and one or more of the state have common interest. Okay. C. Making recommendation upon any such subject and in particular recommendation for the better coordination of policy and action with respect to that subject. It shall be lawful for the president by order to establish such council and to define the nature of the duties to be performed by it and its organization and procedure. Okay. Clause 264 interpretation. In this part, finance commission means a financial commission constituted under Article 280. Finance, property, contracts, and suits. Okay. Interpretation. Article 265. Taxes not to be imposed save by authority of law. No tax shall be levied or collected except by authority of law. Okay, this is how mafias make laws. Only we will be the boss here. We will be the sole bosses. Written by our own fucking book. We are the kings. Yeah, Okay, okay, okay. Honestly, today I'm not feeling all right to do this, so I'm only gonna do it for 1 hour. Although it is getting funny and interesting, but I have another things to do today. Other things, not another. Other things. Consolidated funds and public accounts of India of the state. Clause 1. Subject to the provision of Article 267 and to the provision of this chapter with respect to the assignment of the whole or part of the net proceed of certain tax and duties to cess all revenues received by the government of India, all loans raised by that government, by the issue of treasury bills, loans or ways and means advances, and all money received by the government in repayment of loans shall from one consolidated fund to be entitled the Consolidated Fund of India. Okay. And all revenues received by the government of state, all loans raised by government of by the issue of treasury bills, loans or wage and means advances, and all monies received by the government in repayment of loans shall from one consolidated fund to be entitled the Consolidated Fund of the state. Clause 2. All other public monies received by or behalf of the government of India or the government of state shall be credited to the public account of India or the public account of the state as the case may be. Is there a public account of India? My girl India has a public account. Where can I find it? 3. Clause 3. No monies out of the Consolidated Fund of India or the Consolidated Fund of a state shall be appropriated except in accordance with law and for the purpose this and in the manner provided in this constitution. Obviously. Article 267. Contingency Fund. Clause 1. Parliament by law establish a contingency fund in the nature of an impress to be entitled the Contingency Fund of India. Okay. Oh man, I am feeling sleepy. Okay, Parliament may by law establish a contingency in the nature of an interest into which shall be paid from time to such and may be deterred by such law. And the fund shall be placed at the disposal of the president to enable advances to be paid by him out of such fund for the purposes of meeting unforeseen expenditure pending authorization of such expenditure by Parliament or by law under Article 159 or Article 116. Oh man, I should read the fucking words instead of adding my own shit. Like, when I'm gonna learn that? A clause to the legislature of state may by law establish contingency fund in the nature of a impressed. Okay, let's see. To be entitled the contingency fund of the state into which shall be paid from time to time such sum as may be determined by such law, and the said fund shall be placed at the disposal of the governor of the state to enable uh, to enable advances to be made by him out of such fund for the purposes of meeting unforeseen expenditure pending authorization of such expenditure by legislature of the state by under law under Article 205 and Article 206. Okay. Yeah, this is just copy. Due Article 268. Distribution of the resources. Okay. Duties levied by the union but collected and appropriated by the state. Clause 1. Such stamp duties are as are mentioned in the union list shall be levied by the government of India but shall be collected. Clause in the case where such duties are leviable within any union territory by the government of India, and clause B in other cases by the state within which such duties are respectively leviable. Okay. Clause 2. The proceeds in any financial year of any such duty leviable within any state shall not form part of the consolidated fund of India but shall be assigned to that state. Okay, stamp duties will go to directly to state, I guess. Okay, good, which is a good thing, I guess. At least for me, it is. Article 269. Okay, this will be the last article I'm gonna read. Article 269, and later I'm gonna stop because I'm feeling sleepy. Taxes levied and collected by the union but assigned to the states. Okay. Clause 1. Taxes on the sale or purchase of goods and taxes on the assignments of goods, except as provided in Article 269A, shall be levied and collected by the government of India, but shall be assigned and shall be deemed to have been assigned to the state on or after the first day of April of 1996 in the manner provided in the clause. Explanation for this purposes of this clause. A. The expression tax on the sales, sale or purchase of goods shall mean taxes on sale or purchase of goods other than newspaper where such sale or purchase takes place in course of interstate, state or commerce. B. The expression quote taxes on the consignment goods shall mean taxes on the consignment of goods, whether the consignment is to take the person making it or to any other person, where such consignment takes place in the course of interstate state or commerce. Oh man, consignment. Okay, okay, okay. So consignment is like you are not the owner, but you have the right over it. Okay, okay. The explanation shall mean taxes on the consignment of goods, whether the consignment is to the person making it or the any other person, where such consignment takes place in the course of interest. Clause 2. The net proceeds in any financial year of any such tax, except in so far as those proceeds represent proceeds attributable to Union territories, shall not form part of the consolidated fund of India. but shall be assigned to the state within which that tax is leviable in that year, and shall be distributed among those states in accordance with such principle of distribution as may be formulated by Parliament by law. Clause 3. Parliament may by law formulate principle for determining when a sale or purchase or consignment of goods takes place in the course of interstate trade or commerce. Okay, I'm gonna do this 269A. Levy and collection of goods and service tax in course of interstate trade or commerce. Clause 1. Goods and services tax on the supplies in the course of interstate trade or commerce shall be levied and collected by the government of India, and such tax will be appropriated between the union and the state in the manner as may be provided by Parliament by law on the recommendation of the Goods and Services Tax Council. Explanation: for the purpose of this clause, supply of goods or of services or both in the course of import into the territory of India shall be deemed to be supply of goods or of services or both in the course of interstate trade or commerce. Clause 2. The amount appropriated to state under clause 1 shall not form part of the consolidated fund of India. 3. Clause 3. Where an amount collected as tax levied and under clause 1 has been used for payment of the tax levied by the state under Article 246A, such amount shall not form part of the consolidated fund of India. 4. When amount collected as a tax levied by an state under Article 246A has been used for payment of the tax levied under clause 1, such amount shall not form part of the consolidated fund of the state. Clause 5. Parliament by law formulate the principles for determining the place of supply and when supply of goods or services or both take place in the course of interstate trade or commerce. Okay. We will revisit this tomorrow or next reading, I guess, not tomorrow. Bye bye. Because I think I am not in a great mood and I'm completely not getting it.